Dear friends, neighbors, fellow American citizens, for the love of your grandparents, parents, brothers and sisters, wife, children and grandchildren, for the love of your families. This is why it can't be stressed enough how very important the November 2018 midterms elections are. My fellow citizens, this is not, and I repeat, this is not politics as usual. This time in our lives have brought us to a crossroads. Your country, your nation is in distress. Our great nation is on the very brink of losing its sovereignty. We are on the brink of losing many of our God-given liberties. Our very own Constitution that has protected and secured our republic is in serious jeopardy. Our nation's very own Department of Justice has become biased and heavily partisan. Many of our laws have become null and ineffective. In short, many of our laws are not being enforced. Many of our judges are now turning a blind eye toward justice for all American citizens. Now let's introduce Ted Cruz.
Let's take free speech. It's worth noting that in 2014, every Democratic member of this committee voted to amend the United States Constitution to repeal the free speech provisions of the First Amendment. And sadly, every Democrat in the Senate agreed with that position, voting to give Congress unprecedented power to regulate political speech. Indeed, they voted party line to repeal the free speech provisions of the First Amendment. How about religious liberty? Religious liberty is another fundamental protection that the Democrats in the Senate have gotten extreme and radical on. Just a few years ago, voted to gut the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, legislation that passed Congress with overwhelming bipartisan support in 1993, was signed into law by Bill Clinton, and yet 2 decades later, the Democratic Party has determined that religious freedom is inconvenient for their policy and political objective. And finally, let's take the Second Amendment. In the presidential debates, Hillary Clinton explicitly promised to nominate justices who would overturn Heller versus District of Columbia. Heller is the landmark decision issued by Justice Scalia, likely the most significant decision of his entire tenure on the bench, and it upheld the individual right to keep and bear arms. Now, Hillary Clinton was quite explicit. She wanted judges who would vote to overturn Heller, and indeed a number of our Democratic colleagues, that's what they want as well. Overturning Heller, I believe, would be a truly radical proposition. To understand why, you have to understand what the 4 dissenters said in Heller. The 4 dissenters in Heller said that the Second Amendment protects no individual right to keep and bear arms whatsoever, that it protects merely a collective right of the militia. The consequence of that radical proposition would mean that Congress could pass a law making it a felony, a criminal offense for any American to own any firearm. And neither you nor I nor any American would have any individual right whatsoever under the Second Amendment. It would effectively erase the Second Amendment from the Bill of Rights. That is a breathtakingly extreme proposition. And at the end of the day, it's what this fight is about.
Thank you for your message, Senator Cruz. I know that many of you are trying to make a living and are living your lives the best you possibly can. However, this is a call for all American citizens to stand up and take notice to what actually is happening within your very own government. My fellow American citizens, if you do not take this heed to stand up now for your great nation, then all of your hard labor and sacrifices will become nothing. You will lose the America the way we know it to be. The America that many of us love and hold dear. Heed to this message, stand up and go vote in this year's 2018 midterm elections. Vote Republican. The Democrat Party is out to destroy our Constitution, our sovereignty, our American way of life. Will you answer your country's call? Will you help save our great nation?